It is my distinct honor, on behalf of the First Lady and myself, to introduce to you the Borough President of Brooklyn, Eric Adams.
I would like to thank both my son and dad for coming up. Three generations, and we have to continue to raise the level of excellence in each generation. And I want you to do something else for me. I talk about this story throughout my time on the campaign trail about going to a wedding ceremony, and the bride and groom was ready, and the maid of honor came about an hour and a half late. She thought the day was about her. Today is not about me. I don't have it mixed up. Today is about the Borough of Brooklyn. So you don't stand for me, I stand for you. I am not here to be served. I'm here to serve. I'm still the street cop on the beat, answering my calls of service, trying to figure out how to make families and lives safe. There's something that happens to you when you wear a bulletproof vest for 22 years and you stand on the street corner protecting children and families. You become a different person. You realize how humble it is and how much it is a gift and an obligation and responsibility to remain humble and true to who you are. There must be a level of authentic voice when I speak. And I must stand for what is great in this borough of Brooklyn. And so I will always be just that, your mere humble servant, in a very real way. And so I want to thank a few people. And I want to let you know something. I believe in the Mike Tyson theory of speaking. It should not take me 12 rounds what I can do in 2. So I'm going to hit it and quit it. I got to thank Mommy. You know, 6 children. She loved them all, but she adored me. And I watched her throughout the years as I walked across stages for different reasons. If it was promoted to sergeant, lieutenant, or captain, or becoming a state senator, I watched her in the audience. And I remember when we moved from Gates Avenue in Brooklyn, 1218 Gates Avenue. I remember prior to the move, she was standing on the 4th floor. Some years later, Devorah, we were packing up the car, my dad's old Chevy, moving to Queens. And I looked up in the window and I watched the people who laughed were sitting there watching us go to a place where we had a backyard and bedrooms of our own. She did it. And when she went to her closing, the attorney at the closing was the person who was responsible and her boss at the house that she used to clean. And when she got there the next day, they said, "You have money to buy a house." They wanted to fire her because of that. But she held on. And it's through her that no matter what happens to me, that I'm focused and committed. In that same small house she purchased, my family and I came back and we renovated that entire house, moved her out, and she says now she feels like she lives in a hotel every day. That's what it's about. And I want to thank my sister Sandra. Boy, you just don't know. She taught me how to dance. I used to have 2 left foot. No girls wanted to dance with me. And she taught me how to dance, and it's been wonderful ever since. And then I can't say much more than greatness for Tracy. And Lisa, sitting here in the front row, constantly having a watchful eye. And I can't thank you enough for that, Lisa. And I appreciate you for that. And Congresswoman Velasquez, pioneer, leader. You know, she just made sure that people understood that this city is diverse and everyone must be represented. And that's why I was happy when you decided to come and to bring on our Diana Rayner. Thank you, Nydia, for what you have done throughout the years. Now, as I moved through Brooklyn and stopped in Brighton Beach where the Russian community lives, and sat down and drank Russian water with them. Moved into Borough Park and sat down at Sooker's with my Hasidic friends and Joel Eisendorfer, and made my way over to Williamsburg and sat down with Abe Freeman, and moved into the Caribbean community and had everything from a roti to a patty to all that it brings, and just hung out in Bed-Stuy with the Southern community, and out in Bay Ridge with the traditional Irish community and the new emerging population of the Muslim community, the Yemenis community, and going and sitting in the mosque over on Coney Island Avenue, or just hanging out with the hipsters in Greenpoint. This borough is so diverse and so beautiful. There's something Shakespearean tragic for those of you who live in your own silos and don't appreciate the beauty of diversity. It enriches your life, and it makes you a better human being as in the process. And what can we say about Marchi? Oh boy, oh boy. Man, everyone wrote off Brooklyn. People told us what we couldn't be. Well, he's just a borough president, they said. But he had another vision. You can tell that he has a good eye because he married his lovely wife, Jamie. Committed and dedicated, didn't allow his eyes to get in the way of his heart. Knew that Brooklyn could go to another level. Long before the hotels, long before people wanted to come here, Marty saw it. And so now we have a seamless transition. And he'll be the first to tell you the goal of Eric Adams is not to fill his shoes. They are filled and they're complete. I'm going to bring my own pair to Borough Hall. And I have a great person, one phone call away. All I have to do is pick up the phone and call Marty and ask whatever question I need. And he has showed me an unbelievable level of commitment. A child of Brownsville, student of public school, nothing fancy, nothing glamorous. Everyday person, I too pull up to the gas station and hold my breath, make sure I have enough to fill up. I too figure out how am I going to shovel the snow. I sit around at the kitchen table with my head in my hands trying to figure out if I'm going to have enough to pay the monthly bills and balance the budget. I am just like you. The same things. We want the same things in life, and we're going to push for that. We're in a good place, Brooklyn. Brooklyn is the greatest place on earth. Greatest place. We have defied all historical analysis that came about by Galileo that stated Earth is the center of the universe. It's Brooklyn, baby. Brooklyn is the center of everything that happens, and it will continue to be. That's why when you go to a person that lives in Brooklyn and you say, where do they live? They don't say they live in New York City. They say it with a Brooklyn swagger. I live in Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn. And it gives me hope for the future. It energizes me, and it gives me the radiance that I need to move forward. And I want the energy to move throughout this community in this borough. Every neighborhood, every brownstone, every apartment, every condominium. We want the energy to move beyond that. We want that spirit to rise. We want people to realize that the 4 other boroughs are our little brother. We are 2.5 million people. We're the biggest and the baddest that comes in the city. And we got to keep it going in that direction. For the last year, I have been saying this is a pivotal moment for Brooklyn. Brooklyn is now, maybe more than ever, a place of opportunity. Now it's time to turn our popularity into prosperity. And not just for some, but for all of Brooklyn. The reality is that everyone is not benefiting from this prosperity. And let's face it, for our success and potential, we must do more. There's a great inequality in this borough. 6 out of 18 community districts in Brooklyn experienced median income growth from 2009 to 2012. The rest experienced negative growth, with 3 community districts experiencing a decrease in median income of more than 10%. And get this, even with the Barclays Center, even with the $1.3 million homes being sold in Crown Heights, 25% of this borough lives in poverty. Almost 50% of them are at the line and one paycheck away of being in poverty. That is not a successful borough. That's not the borough I want to stay in. Our friends and neighbors are in need, and I believe that Brooklyn understands that, and we will do all we can to move people to the next level. The question is what can we do to continue the progress that we've seen over the years, retain the structure that we need, and at what speeds? And I say in the phrase, what do? As Brooklynites, we don't rest. We push for greater. Because in Brooklyn, we don't just strive for greatness. You know what we do? We define it. And the definition must be clear. So the question we must answer is, what would make Brooklyn better? Let's start with our infrastructure. We cannot hope to face the future with outdated systems of moving goods and people. We need to look at areas that we have ignored for years, like the Red Hook terminal. Container terminal. It makes good sense. You can move goods and services, good jobs on our ports and our waterfronts. We should not have to wait. As much as I love my friend Ruben Diaz, but there's no reason we all the way up in the Bronx to buy our goods and services. Brooklyn is where that's at, and we need to make sure those services and goods are right here in Brooklyn. And I love you, Ruben. Congressman Nadler, for years, Nydia had talked about that, and we've ignored him. Now it's time to dust off that plan and move it forward. We must also redefine how people move. The transportation system should be a holistic system. What do I mean? Bike share needs to be shared throughout the entire borough. Sometimes many of you see I'm moving throughout the borough on my bike share. We need to have bike racks at schools so children can ride bikes to and from school. It's a healthy alternative. Bike racks at subway stations so you can complement your ride. Encouraging new developers in buildings and business community to put bike areas where you can store your bikes. We need to utilize the waterways and the ferries. There's no reason we don't have more ferries on our waterways. It's an excellent way to transport people to and from their place of employment. We need to also protect our industrial space, and this is what I'm going to do as borough president. We are rezoning ourselves to unemployment. Each industrial space you take away to put up a luxury condominium, you are taking away jobs in this borough, and real jobs. Now let me be clear. I know development brings jobs. I know development is important, and I'm in support of good, responsible development. But we must make sure we protect those areas that are allowing jobs to come to New York and ensure that we can continue to have industrial space in this city. We can never forget how successful we were in the Navy Yard in Dumbo. It was due through strategic public investment in the most basic infrastructure, roads and water and sewer and waterfront bulkheads. as well as transportation improvements. Look what we have done over in the Greenway and Brooklyn Bridge Park and ferry services, all of these great places. Next, we need to be supportive of business, particularly small business. That is why I want to leverage my capital budget to support and build business incubators and accelerator programs. And something else we need to do. This is the Empire State. We need to be kind to business. When the day comes that the businessman in the store or bodega is more afraid than the Department of Consumer Affairs than the stick-up man, something is wrong. We cannot continue taxation through citation. $500 fines merely because you have a wooden frame and not a metal frame inside a business certificate. That's sick. You got to give business the support they need. So I'm going to team up with the city council and other legislators to introduce legislation to push through to make a more user-friendly violation process. And some of you may not realize, but yes, borough presidents can write legislation, and you know I know how to write it. And I want to take my hat off to the public advocate at the time, Bill de Blasio. When he was public advocate, he did an analysis and he saw that small businesses, particularly those of color under the Bloomberg administration, was harmed in the most hurtful way when it came down to running and operating small businesses. That must stop. But I also want to make sure our small businesses receive help through Borough Hall. I want to connect them to free, helpful resources. And Borough Hall can do that. We're going to team up with Brooklyn Law School. They have a program called the Q program, and they give free legal advice. If you went to school to know how to operate or build widgets, you don't know anything about accounting or legal services. That's why we must team up with those business people and give them the free services they need. But also we got to look and be creative around the freelancers. Over the last 5 years, this sector has created more than 250,000 jobs. The innovation economy and businesses increasingly, they would like to locate in Brooklyn, particularly along our industrial waterfront. And we have to keep it going. We must make sure that we make changes in our tax code and often unnecessary regulations. And also look at physical space, change the rules. If someone wants to open a business or small business in their basement or in their apartment, let's make it easy for them to do so. Before there was a Microsoft or before there was an Apple, there was someone inside their apartment with an idea. Let's build the next Microsoft right here in Brooklyn. But let's be straight about something. If Brooklyn support businesses, businesses must support Brooklyn. We're looking for new businesses to come here and existing businesses to grow. But we also are looking for them to embody the Brooklyn team spirit. These citizen employers won't just add to our borough from 9 to 5, but also from 5 to 9. We will create a culture of economic development that will bring employers like MakerBot 3D. This is a company in Sunset Park. I went in there, I was amazed. You had people on the assembly line. This is the 3D company. And the individuals on the assembly line, some of them had high school equivalency diplomas. Some of them had just barely enough education. But they were able to go from learning how just to turn a screw with a screwdriver to putting together major complicated pieces. They brought them together, and the bulk of them operate right there in their community. They walk to and from their place of employment. Those are the type of jobs we need. So we can encourage these types of businesses in Brooklyn by coordinating with EDC and ESDC to set standards for businesses that get government help in our backyard. And I will ensure that the community and groups and organizations are part of that conversation. We also need employers that will invest in their employees and in the community. That's why that fight with the fast food employees are so important. You can't be in a job when you can't even afford to buy the dollar menu on the menu. They deserve a suitable pay. And we're going to fight to make sure, I'm going to continue to battle with NYCC to make that happen. It's the right thing to do. But it's also smart business. Employers willing to invest in highly underemployed areas and underserved communities should have our support to get access to the resources necessary to do so. Borough Hall can be at the intersection of these potential partners, business, government, and communities, to make deals where everyone wins. We're looking for win-wins. And nothing shows that more than over in the Brooklyn Navy Yard with Evelyn Rayner, doing an amazing job. 52% of the people who live or employed in the Navy Yard, they live in Brooklyn. She has one of the great MWBE programs in the city. So it's good to have good employees with the diversity to make sure that people are gainfully employed. Now that we know what would make us better, we must discuss how we make Brooklyn better. I believe there are a few things we can do to continue our progress. And how do we do it? Most important, I think Diana touched on it. We have to get back to basics. I remember back in years when I was playing JV football with Bayside. We were winning every year. And then one year, we started losing and was down here ever since. And the coach called us all in the room, and he said, you know, you guys started to get too big on yourselves. You have to learn how to run again, how to catch and throw. But more importantly, you have to learn how to be a team again. Brooklyn has to learn how to be a team again. So that's why I'm announcing today the establishment of Team One Brooklyn. One group, one jersey, one name, all of us coming together. We cannot face the future apart, and we certainly will not get the infrastructure we need, the employees we want, and the better borough we seek on different sides of the same fight. One Brooklyn. That's what I did when I moved at the start of my campaign. The first thing we must do is to start listening to people on the ground. I put together a group of 20 different subject areas, and I call them pillars. And I ask experts in each one of those areas to reach out to those who are on the ground with them, if it's education, healthcare, business, and come with real solutions to answer 3 questions. What have we done in the past? What are we doing now? And what do we need to do in the future? And that's important to get solutions from people who understand it. We'll use this information to help improve the lives of Brooklynites. And that's what I want my legacy to be. I want to improve the lives of everyday Brooklynites. We have invested in so many things of beauty. Now let's invest in beautiful people. And my goal was to make that happen by teaching things as simple as financial literacy, healthy food choices. How do we live? We can't continue to raise our children on chicken wings and fried rice. They must have access to fruits and vegetables so they can grow up to be intelligent, smart, well-groomed adults. And I know it sounds simple, but it's not. It would take all of our energy together to be successful. And that's why I will link Borough Hall closely with existing successful organizations to create programs that build lives around those important issues. And you know what the code is for 2014? Collaboration. We cannot continue to have 3 organizations on the same block doing the same thing that don't even know of each other. We have to collaborate. Resources are limited. You may think that we print our own money, but both Congresswomen Nadler, Clark, and Velasquez would tell you that the resources coming back to the cities are small. If we don't come together and build one strong organization, we're never going to make it happen. Egos must go to the side, and we must be focused on what the ride is about, saving the lives of Brooklynites. That's what it's about. With all of our success, there are still so many people that are hurting. We have to look out for them as well as others and give them the tools to get better. But helping them, it will help us Too often people are lost and they are in pain. And there's one thing I've learned, Kevin. Hurt people hurt people. There's a reason that young children are playing a knockout game, because we close every center for them to play intelligent games. Hurt people hurt people. And the goal is to administer to that pain. So I'm saying to you, Brooklynites, both of you who are in the VIP seats and those who are in the other seats that I spoke to earlier, it's time for us to reach out. If you are a business, an activist, or just a citizen with time and energy to volunteer, I want you to be part of Team One Brooklyn. Find a position for you to play on the team. We'll find that. We will collaborate and share our resources to become the most powerful advocate for people of this borough. Our ultimate goal is to create an environment in this borough where we can raise healthy children and families, create opportunity and inspire greatness in any neighborhood and on any block. And here's how Team Brooklyn does that. First thing, we have to volunteer. It's crucial to volunteer. And I think about an organization called a Multicolor, beautiful organization. They get together and have young people come out and volunteer. And actually it's called Public Color. They get out and have them come and paint various places in the community and doing a wonderful job in the process. And when they volunteer, they give back in a very real way. 90% of those children graduate from college on time. 87% are admitted to college. And let me give you another number. 90% of them are families are on public assistance. I'm telling you that volunteer does something to you. It changes your dynamic and it exposes you to the possibilities. When you are helping others, you are helping yourself, and you see how you should be grateful for where you are. And Judge Ash and Judge Radix is saying something else to us. You don't have to be Public Colors. Judge Radix, every Saturday, bring together, although she's on one of our highest courts, she finds time to volunteer on Saturday to bring young people to her home and tutor them for free. All the children in the community can do that. An amazing task that you're doing, Judge. So what is she saying to us? If you are an accountant, go teach financial literacy to someone. If you are a doctor, go open up a clinic and teach people health care needs. If you are an economist, teach people how they can save to purchase a home and go from living someplace to another place. If you are the Department of Sanitation, show people how to pack their garbage. If you are the Department of Traffic, show people how not to double park and get a summons of $100. Everybody can get in this game. All you got to do is do it. I think about Kareem Kamara, what you said one day at your service. He was talking about 3 frogs. One of them decided to jump. Then another decided to jump. And then Kareem asked the question, how many frogs was left? We all said 2 and 3, and we all argued. And he says they were all still there because they just decided nobody jumped. If you got something you want to do, stop thinking about it. Get it done. That's the Brooklyn way. And then we must put our love and attention into parents. We must educate our parents so they can be real advocates for their children. And this year in 2014, we have to stop this sick battle between charter school and public school. Our parents are caught up in all of this anger and all of this tension. Let me tell you something. Parents don't care if their children are educated in a charter school, barter school, public school. They want their children educated. That's the fight. And these are not some of the children. These are all of our children. They all must be prepared for a better tomorrow. And so we must empower our parents to fight for that. And no one is doing it better than my friend David Banks from the Eagle Academy. Unbelievable person. And check out the numbers. He's not doing 3-card Marty, playing with the numbers. 30% of David Banks' children have educational special needs. However, 89% of them graduate on time. 90% of them go to college. With all of that success, he's fighting every year to get additional funding that he needs to make these children what they ought to be. That should not be happening. And you know what? It's not going to happen in Brooklyn. And so I want to be innovative. I want to be forward thinking. I want to do something that people haven't heard of. I want to create a textbook-free school. Give our children tablets. Let's equalize the literary opportunities. Let's download the books on these tablets. And you know what happens? The cost goes down 50 to 60%. And I know there's going to be a big fight with the one book company that Bloomberg allowed to sell books to the company. But you know what? Our children come first. And this empowered children, and it leads the way. Brooklyn must come with the fresh and new ideas. And the mayor touched on it. We have to save our hospitals. Got to save our hospitals. Interfaith, Litch, Brookdale, Downstate. And I thank Chancellor McCall, Chairman McCall, for being reasonable in his thoughts around this issue. But just as we want to save the hospitals because health care is important, and also health care is the largest employer, but there's something else. We got to raise the bar on who's running these hospitals. You cannot be saving the lives of sick people while you're making $2 and $3 million in salary. So we want quality care, quality employment, but we want quality people at the helm. And health care is important, but just as we're having a problem with health care, we're having a problem with many services in our community. There's a service desert in our community. I'm going to team up with NYU and CUPS to do a data-driven analysis to identify these high-needs areas and evaluate the access to critical resources. And we need to do something around the cultural desert that we have. Our artists mean so much to this borough, and we need to pay more attention to that. Let me tell you, I've learned a long time ago, you eat broccoli to nourish the body, but arts and culture nourish the anatomy of your spirit. And many people are malnourished spiritually because they're not getting any artistic inside them. We need our artists. And artist doesn't mean gentrification. It means coming into a community, exploring that community, and being part of that community to enrich that community. We can't merely have BAM as a cultural district. We have to have cultural districts throughout this entire borough. That's the push that we're going to do. And so I'm putting an open call to all of our artists. And Marty, you were right. When I walked inside that building and saw all of those paintings going on, it's not reflective of New Brooklyn. I want all of our artists to come and hang up your pictures and your arts in Borough Hall. Let me tell you something. When a person walks inside a place and they see art that's reflective of their community and their culture, they know that's a welcome mat. That's why we have various artists on the stage today to let you know in the years to come that Brooklyn will be reflective of all the artists and all the people that believe Brooklyn is home. And lastly, Brooklyn has to remain affordable. I have seen so much fear on the faces, particularly our elders. They were waking up to gunshots and not alarm clocks, but they stayed. We can't become so hip and cool that we're going to push them out. We need to become creative with our rezoning to ensure that Brooklyn remains affordable. And I know some people are offended by the term, but permanently affordable. And affordable must equal our teachers, our firefighters and cops, and other civil servants, they must be able to stay in Brooklyn. And that's the push that we're going to do to ensure that. And so, Brooklyn, let me finish with this. You know, those of us who fly from time to time, the stewardess comes out and she says, give you the instructions before you take off. And one of the instructions that I always remember, Jeff, is she says that if there's a loss in cabin pressure, put the mask on yourself before you put it on the child. They're telling you, you got to take care of yourself first. And I'm saying to you, Brooklyn, you're no good to any of us if you don't take care of yourself. Whatever you do, pray, meditate, take walks, sit down, get the people out of your area who's trying to be hurtful or harmful to you. We must take a period to deal with some of this pain that is out here among us. If you take a close look at their face, you'll see their smile is out of place and the tracks of their tears. People are hurting. And just pause for a moment and visit the person next door who seems to be locked inside and no one is visiting them. And just spend moments with yourself. Put that mask on you first before you start administering to others. It doesn't mean being selfish. It doesn't mean not caring for your fellow man. It means that if we want to be great, if we want to be good, if we want to aspire to who we ought to be, then the first thing is to make sure that we're great in our own. And so, Brooklyn, I thank you, and we have a long list of things we want to do. We may not do it this year or 4 years or 20 years, and to be honest with you, we may not even do it in our lifetime. But let's make up our minds today on the 19th that we're going to get started. Thank you, Brooklyn.
I, Eric Adams. Eric L. Adams. Do solemnly swear that I will uphold, defend, and honor the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of New York, the City Charter of the City of New York, and the bylaws and regulations of the Borough of Brooklyn, and will, to the best of my ability, execute my duties and responsibilities as the Borough President of Brooklyn. So help me God. God bless you, sir.